Hello everyone, I am Nick, the Jaded book burner. I don't actually burn books, and this is probably my first BookTube video. I was technically going to make one last year, but I ran into mess ups. But anyway, to basically introduce myself to BookTube and what I'm going to do, I have decided that I am going to start reading classical sci-fi novels for my 2021 New Year's resolution. I actually took a long break from reading sci-fi books like after high school. I had read what is it, Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. Um, it was called that Slaughterhouse. Yeah, Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut and Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card in high school. But I didn't read for the longest time, and then when I started finally getting back into reading a few years ago, I didn't read sci-fi. I mean, I did read some, but they didn't interest me. It wasn't until I read Brandon Sanderson's Skyward that I finally got back into sci-fi. So, after watching some other people's videos and stuff, like the BookTube Goddess, I decided to um, just read classical sci-fi because I want to see where all the big ideas come from and everything. And so I have gone ahead and bought some books to read that, and to clarify, I will be reading these books, and I'm going to go through them here in a bit, but in between each one, I'm going to go through some newer books that I have already bought and have just been on my desk for a long time. You can see them there. And I've actually got the other two books of the Grisha trilogy, Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising over there. I read the first one, and I still need to finish it. So before the show comes out, I haven't read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. But anyway, so again, just gonna read one of these, then go one of the new ones, then back to these, and yada yada yada. So anyway, the first classical sci-fi book that I'm gonna read is Dune by Frank Herbert. This is the one with the movie coming out soon. There's a lot of different editions for this first book, and there's one with this same cover, but it's a bit chunkier, and it was kind of like a mass paperback, and I didn't want to do that because mass paperbacks, I wear contacts and glasses, and it hurts my sight. But anyway, this is going to be the first one I'll read. Just hopefully I can read it in time before the movie comes out. So that's what I'll read. And of the first classical sci-fi. I know I'm repeating myself. And then when I go back to the newer books, I'm going to read Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, the second book in the Grisha trilogy. Unless a novella that I ordered hasn't come in yet. There's a novella that I ordered, Now Machines Will Haul the Beast by Benjamin and Sri Dwankau. And if that one isn't in yet, I'll read Siege and Storm. And if it isn't, I'll obviously read it because it's going to be very short. But anyway, excuse me. Then, when I go back to classical sci-fi, I will read Robert Heinlein's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. I had been wanting to read Highline for a while. I know that he has a variety of reactions. A lot of people like him, a lot of people don't like him. A lot of people said his work is age. I know he was a very, very libertarian guy, and his later books had a lot of weird sexual stuff in it, but I don't know if there's any of that in there. But to all my older friends on Goodreads, they said read this one probably first if you don't have any access to his juveniles. I would like to read one of his juveniles at some point, but yeah. Okay. And then after The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, again, if that little novella isn't in yet, I will. Wow, this is a great video. If I had read that novella and already, and then the next book would be Siege and Storm But if I had read Siege and Storm first, I would probably just go ahead and get Ruin and Rising by Lee Bardugo. So, yeah, so that would be the next one. And then I would read for this classical sci-fi, The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I have heard about this book for a long time. When I was in high school, we read Ursula K. Le Guin's The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. It's a short story about this town where everything's like a paradise, but in order to keep that paradise, there's this child who's basically just kept in a very bad place, and that's what maintains the happiness. And I read that in both high school and college, and the same question they always ask is, "What would you do?" So that book or short story left a impression on me. And in college, one of my professors talked about this because there's an alien race in here, and they can change their gender. And I know that was a big thing at the time. And a non-binary friend of mine read this, and they felt a bit conflicted about how the gender was portrayed. They said it still felt a little sensualist. But we'll find out. And then when I go back to the newer books, I will finally read Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Wow, that was bad. I bought this a while back, and I've seen I've read nothing but good things about it. And I'm interested to see a fantasy world based on pre-Columbian culture, so that'll be interesting. And then, when I go back to classical sci-fi, it will be A Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. This book is what got sci-fi out of its niche genre. It was the first sci-fi book to get on the New York Times bestseller list. But I also heard that it hasn't aged well. But who knows? I'll read it and find out. And then, when I go back to the newer books, I will read the Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. I was initially put off by this one because the blurb, talked about how the princess has to prove to her father, and you read a ton of stories like those, especially in YA. Not that those stories are bad, it's just there's a lot. But someone told me that it didn't follow that exact formula. And apparently it follows multiple perspectives, and from what I've heard, the author, Andrea Stewart, she did that very well. And it's based off East Asian culture, so that'll be interesting. And then when I go back to classical sci-fi, I will read Kurt Vonnegut's The Sirens of Titan. I picked this one up because I heard it's kind of like one you can compare and contrast to Stranger in a Strange Land, especially with their topics on religion. I know that Highline was agnostic and he didn't like religion that much, and because according to this, they couldn't let people be horny. But Kurt Vonnegut, he was a humanist, but he really liked certain biblical phrases, and I think he liked the Beatitudes, so it'll be a bit different. And then, when I go back to the new books, it will be A Peculiar Apparel by Jeff Vandermeer. This is his YA debut. I have read Annihilation. I haven't read the rest of the Sun and Reach trilogy, but I've read Annihilation and Born, and I really liked Born. That was one of my favorite novels of this year. It made me choke up a little, actually. So it'll be really cool to see his YA debut. I've heard that this can only be for those who really, really, really like Jeff Vandermeer's work, and even on the back here it says, "Warning, this is not a normal book." And if you know anything about Vandermeer, his prose, it's really, really kind of stream of consciousness-y, kind of, I keep hurting my back, kind of basically weird, so I'm interested to see how he does that. And then when I go back to classical sci-fi again, it will be Octavia Butler's Wild Seed. Octavia Butler was I believe, the first black woman to publish a science fiction novel. And this is one of the books of her, I believe it's Patternist series. I don't know if you can read that. This was actually the last one she published in that series, but the chronology in the book is actually earliest. And I asked around if I should read it in chronological order or in publication order. You can do both, but I was advised to just read it in chronological of the timelines within the book, um, because I was told that the writing is better in this one, but that it would make a little bit more sense. The other way to read it in publication order would, give you a little mystery to it, but I like seeing things start from one point in history and end at another, so I'm gonna read it that way. My only dissatisfaction is that one of the books in the series, Survivor, it is no longer available for publication. Like shortly after it was published, Octavia Butler disowned it. She didn't like it. There are used copies around there, but you had to pay over like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So, if when I read this and if I end up liking it and I want to read the rest of the series, I'm a bit sad that I won't be able to read that one. But, it'll be cool. And then when I go back to the new books, well, that's not appealing. Go back to the new books, I'm going to read The Kingdom of Little Wounds by Susan Kolkel. This is a book that generated a lot of controversy and even discussions if it can even be considered YA. Susan Kolkel, I've read her before. I read her adult debut, Mirabilis, which was about a medieval woman and in the religious experiences or the religious mystical visions she experiences, and how it was very corporeal. And then I read her newer YA book, Mermaid Moon, and that one was okay. It wasn't very good. I'm interested in this one. I love the cover. It's very beautiful. So I hope that one's good, or this one is good. And it's even got the edge stain, and even got like a little fairy tale-ish spine there. But yeah, so I'm gonna read this one. And I think this might be the last Susan Kolkel book I'll read. But anyway, and then when I go back to the classical sci-fi books, I don't have them yet. I need to order them. I'm gonna read Joanna Russ's The Female Man. Again, I'm gonna have to order that. Joanna Russ, she actually, she was like a radical feminist writer, and her book, The Female Man, it was very much in your face with her ideas, and it won the Nebula Award I don't know what year it was published, but and was nominated for the Hugo Award the same year. She did not hold back or anything in her ideas, and I'm very interested to read it because I know that her and Ursula K. Le Guin had a throwdown. Ursula K. Le Guin did not like The Female Man, and so I'm very interested to read that. And then I'm going to read Titan by C.J. Cherry. And that's another one I'm going to have to order. In that one, it is about cloning, and it usually comes as a big omnibus now, but for a brief time it was published as three separate novels, and I'm going to see if I'm going to track that one down because, one, they got a really cool retro cover, and two, the omnibus version is kind of a mass paperback version, and like I said, that colludes all the words together, and it's chunky. So I'm going to just slim it down a bit. So that is it for, what I'm going to, or the books at least that I'm going to start off with. That is what I'm going to do. And I will probably get more sci-fi books or classical sci-fi books as they go on. I definitely want to read Starship Troopers by Robert Highline at some point. I saw the movie ages ago. And then I will probably... I had other classical sci-fi books that I'm going to read, but I can't think of it. Childhood Zen by Arthur C. Clarke. That's one I'm going to read. yeah, and there's going to be others that, I'll tell you along the way. So, I guess that's the end of my first video. Thank you for watching. If you like what I'm doing, hit subscribe. Sorry this video was so awkward. And can't wait to go on this journey with you. Thanks.